Hello lovelies, what's up and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to today's video, which is, as you already saw, my eyeshadow palette extravaganza for the month of April. If you are new or semi-new to my channel, during the months that I pick up a good selection of eyeshadow palettes, which eyeshadow palettes are my favorite thing to purchase in the makeup world, I do one of these, which is most months. I love eyeshadow palettes. So if you're interested in seeing the eyeshadow palettes I picked up last month for the month of April and how they worked out for me, then just keep on watching. So some of these we've already talked about, we've already touched on them just because of the types of videos that I have posted recently. The majority of these are from my Sephora haul, and I kind of went a little crazy during the haul, and in my haul update I already let you know pretty much how they worked for me, how I liked them. We'll go into a little bit more detail in that today, but aside from that, there are a couple others that we're going to talk about that I picked up outside of the sale. So let's talk about those first. Let's go into the Morphe Avani Gregg palette. Now I did include this in my April favorites video, and so you may have already seen that and know that I love this eyeshadow palette. Everything from the graphics to the it's so eye-catching. I love bright colors like this. This is what really draws me in, what really catches my eye. Now, granted, I am not, there are so many YouTubers and beauty gurus out there that I really don't know about, I've never heard of, and she is one of them. So I don't really know much about her, and I just know that I really love this palette. So again, packaging is stellar. Now, if you've, again, already seen my favorites video, then you know why I love this palette so much. But first, let's talk about the eyeshadows. These are really pigmented. And I mentioned this before, Morphe can be hit or miss. There are some palettes that are like, okay, I could take this or leave this, or some that are like, absolutely not. And then there are some that are like, they kind of broke the mold with this one. They went a little above and beyond. And this is one of those palettes. So the eyeshadow shades are so pigmented. They're very blendable, very workable, just easy to use, and I really appreciate that. I love also that there's a good array of colors in here. So there's pretty much like anything you kind of want to work with. If you want to go somewhat neutral, there's a couple of those. I mean, it's primarily brights, but there's also a couple of glitters. One is more of a chunky glitter I have found. The other one is a little bit more of a, it's a glitter, but it's not as big in chunks than the other. I don't know. Let me show you what these look like. So this kind of reminds me of the glitter that was in the Coca-Cola palette, I think, which I have since decluttered. That was one that I was like, okay, I'm kind of over this one. But anyways, so let me give you a couple of swatches as well of just the regular eyeshadows. Very bright, very vibrant, and very appropriate for spring and summer, now that we are really getting into the hot summer months. So very, very pretty. Again, easy to use, easy to work with. Now let's get into the part of the palette that I love most, and it is this is what I'm wearing on my eyes today. So these liners, which I guess I didn't realize they're called cake liners. Now, granted, I love makeup. Doesn't mean I know everything there is to know about makeup. So apparently these are called cake liners, and it is the kind of liner that you have to wet your brush to go in with. And I really was skeptical, but I thought, I want to try this out. And that was one of the main reasons to get this palette. And I was so mesmerized with what you can do with them. And now, granted, not having tried other cake liners, I don't know how they compare, but I do know that these are very vibrant, very easy to use, easy to work with. I was just all around surprised. So obviously I'm wearing the hot pink one today, but I haven't used all of the shades yet, but I've used enough of them to know that they are super vibrant. And I have noticed that they start getting a little bit of not a film, but I think it's just the water when you wet your brush and you go in with them, that it kind of leaves something looking like hard pan, but I haven't found that impacts the product. I can still go in the next time and have absolutely no issues. And I guess it's the water that reactivates it. But you guys, if you are a cake liner person, then this palette is definitely for you. Spent a lot of time on it already, so I'll go ahead and move to the next one. But I did pick mine up at Ulta, and I did use the $3.50 coupon. So this was definitely worth my time and the price because it's unique to my collection. Don't have anything like it. Let's move into Melt Cosmetics. The Blueprint palette never hit the Sephora website, and I don't know why. I think Sephora kind of picks and chooses what they want to carry, and maybe they just thought this one wouldn't do well. But I did pick this up off the Melt website on sale. It was when I got the Golden Hour blush that had sold out during the VIB sale, and I saw that this one was on sale. I had wanted it, and I was like, oh, add to cart, I'll just pick it up. The packaging, it's a Blueprint palette, and it is a Blueprint themed design. I love that. It is so cute. Whenever theming just really plays a part in packaging, I am sucked in, and this is no exception. So here's what this bad boy looks like. Now, I feel like I did like it better online in the promo pics than in real life. Once it came in, I was like, okay. I don't know that I would be as excited for it now. I think these two are probably my favorite shades out of the palette. But let me give you a few swatches. Now, I do think I love Melt shadows, honestly. And I mean, I don't feel like they can be hit or miss because I pretty much like them every single time. But I guess I could see where people could be put off and say that it's, you know, sometimes the shadows are kind of wonky. If you want my honest opinion, these are as good as they come. This is a really good quality palette. So, like I said, I think I'm more drawn to colors. So, you know, shades like this, I'm like, all right, I probably wouldn't get as much use out of that. Let me tell you, there are 2 mattes in this palette out of 1, 2, 3, 4, out of 8 shades. So just know that, because sometimes people are put off by the ratio of mattes to more shimmers. Now, this aqua blue one right here is very, not chunky, but it is chunky. It goes everywhere, but look how pretty that is. Definitely a swimming pool, a little bit deeper than a swimming pool blue, but very beautiful. They go well together. So you kind of have, I'm confused as to it being called a Blueprint palette, but it's got more neutrals than anything, but that's okay. There's times where I just, you know, I'm like, ooh, I don't know why they called it like this, but I like it. So anyways, but let me give you one of the matte shades and we will move on. Very, very nice. So Melt, see, beautiful. And sometimes Melt doesn't swatch all that great, but in this case, it sure does. So I'm glad I picked it up because I really would have been curious to the very end. So I'm glad I picked it up and now I know, and I'm glad to have it in my Melt collection. Like I said, I do very much enjoy their eyeshadow palettes, and so I was glad to be able to get this one on sale. So if you are into this color scheme or color story, and you've been curious about the quality, this is a good one. So that's that. Okay, let's move into the rest of the palettes, which are what I picked up during the sale. So you already know this. This is some of this is going to be repetitive. My apologies if you've already watched my last few videos, but the Huda Obsessions, what is it? The Chocolate Obsessions, the Brown Obsessions. So I did pick up all 3, and I wasn't going to because I already have, I was feeling like I have a lot of dupes already, because some of her, I feel like, as with other brands, sometimes they kind of repackage, rename, and then re-release stuff with different covers. And I thought, you know what, I think I already have some of this. And then people's reviews were kind of off-putting, and it just didn't seem like this was the best option. But I did get sucked in during the sale, as we all do, just throw it in the cart. And later that day, so I placed my order first thing in the morning. I took my mom later that day and I got to see them in store. I got to swatch them because now you can swatch at Sephora. And I was like, I am so glad I bought these. So beautiful. I love the quality on these. I'm actually very surprised, I guess, that people are not as excited about them. But here's the thing. I go against the grain practically every single time. When a palette is really hated, I tend to very much like it. So this ended up being the case as well. Now, yes, there is about 1 shade in each palette. It's the like little swirly shade in Caramel and Toffee, for example, that they just won't get used because they really do. They're just no good. So it's this one right here and this one right here. Just not here. I'm digging pretty hard, okay? And here's what it looks like. Now, I did use this particular shade. I did use it for a look, and the look came out really, really nice. I'm a huge advocate on using Fenty Pro Filter Eye Primer as a base because of the tackiness, and it really helps bring stuff out. But these are a very, very thin consistency, and so they just don't play out very well. However, the rest, the mattes, are beautiful. They are soft. They are easy to work with. They're softer than what the typical Huda Obsessions eyeshadow palettes have, like much softer, which was surprising to me, quite frankly. Again, because so many people hated it, so that my expectations were very low. So to feel these being so smooth, I was like, okay. And then these these metallic shades are everything I would want in a metallic shade. I don't know, but here we go. Beautiful, beautiful, easy to work with. These are the kind of neutrals that really draw me in. I'm not a huge neutral type of girl, but you know what? I get on board with neutrals when they come like this. So for me, these were a total win. Of course, I did the typical thing and put my finger in one of them. If I had to pick one, it would be the caramel brown. It's just more my speed as far as shades. I like the orangey tones. My least favorite is the Toffee palette, just because, again, the shades, the tones, the yellows and stuff like that, I don't feel like they go as well on my, I don't know if my skin tone, but for my style, for what I like to see on myself. I'm not usually as much of a fan, but they are still beautiful. Let me give you a swatch of one of the others. So lovely. I'm so glad that I picked these up. The shine is real. Okay. And then the last one, which is the deepest one, is the chocolate brown. This is probably my second favorite out of the bunch. Now there's a couple of shades that are a little bit lighter, like this one right here. So just be aware. I'm guessing it was done like that because of the contrast, just so that since this is the deepest palette, there's that little bit of contrast, but these are they're lovely. Absolutely lovely. So if you've been kind of off put by reviews and stuff like that, I'm always a huge proponent in trying it out for yourself, because someone else's tastes might differ quite a bit from yours, and you just never know until you try. And I would have missed out on some really great palettes had I not picked those up. Okay, let's move into the Too Faced Teddy Bear palette, because speaking of neutral palettes from sorry, I gotta like get this stuff off my hand. We are just, well, we're gonna be a little bit stained today, but that's okay. All right, the Teddy Bear palette, which is another I had not planned on picking up, again, because people were just saying it's so small. I don't know, the quality is kind of hit or miss. And I just truly thought, you know what? I don't need another neutral palette. I really don't. Do I need another palette at all? No. But it brings joy, and it adds a spark of joy, and it's fun. And I can't get this out. Hold on. Please hold. Okay, so after all that, so this is what it looks like. It is very, very tiny. I actually love that. It's different. I love packaging to be different on my palettes, because there is so much average and I have so many of them, because again, it is what I like to collect the most. I have so many that when there is something out of the ordinary, I'm like, yes, I like that. And that fits that mold. It reminds me of like a credit card. It's thin, it's super compact. This is travel friendly to the max. Now, a ton of people are getting back into traveling now, and so the travel section at my grocery store, you guys, ransacked. So I know people are getting back out there. So this is perfect for travel. Very small, it's very lightweight, but it doesn't feel cheap. And I love that the teddy bear is so out there. It's so, so cute. Anyways, in addition to that, yes, the pans of product are very small. Look, my finger can cover the whole pan of product. So yes, it is tiny, but again, it's Do we need massive every single time? No, because none of us are going to go, I will say a lot of us aren't going to go through all of our makeup collection. So this is another one that just really threw me for a loop because it is absolutely beautiful. The quality to this is very surprising, and it is, I believe, made in Italy, so that may really play a part in it. I know I saw that here somewhere. I'm trying to validate. Yeah, made in Italy. So I had heard that these mattes are a little bit of a different formula than what they're used to. It's a little bit of a departure for them, which I think works because they are very soft. They have a very silky texture. They're not very thick. And they are very pigmented. They go on so nicely. They blend so well. There's times where I don't even need to go in with a second layer if I'm throwing this in the crease, which is highly unusual for me because a lot of times, even if I don't need to, just out of habit, I do. But very lovely to work with. And then the metallics I love in this palette. Now, when I go in with my finger to swatch these types of metallics, there's two that are marbled and two that are more like just foiled. The marbled ones are the ones that really pull super metallic foiled, and the others are slightly less, but here is one of those marbled shades. And I'm going to give you one of just the regular shades. There are 4, what I would consider, here's a regular shade, a regular metallic, I should say. So very lovely. Now, there are 4 metallics in this palette, and the rest are mattes. 2 of the mattes being a little bit larger, which I'm just assuming are the ones you would kind of throw in your crease, the ones that people would use more often. So they're probably going to be the ones that run out quicker. But there are 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4 metallics, and the rest of them are mattes, which I know will make a lot of people happy. A lot of neutral loving ladies tend to like mattes more, and I can definitely see why. So there's just more to work with, more to throw on the crease, more to that kind of thing. Anyways, so this was a total win. I love it, and I'm so glad they kind of did a little bit of something different. And I hope that that means they're going to do more of this kind of different thing. So let's move into the final palette, and that's the Artist Couture Ethereal Bloom, which again is another one that people have hated. I would put that in capital letters. I'm going to hold on to the box. I think the box is very cute, very eye-catching. And then the packaging to this, I mean, I'd probably buy this just for the packaging, but the shades inside are beautiful. The color story is absolutely lovely and is right in line for a bright eyeshadow lover like myself. Now, people are hating this because the mattes are dry. Yes, they are, but they go on really, really nicely. And the metallics, I think, is what is throwing people off the most, is that they're not really metallics. They're going on like toppers. And when I say toppers, sheer toppers. So I also had very low expectations for this, very low. When I started using it, I was like, okay. Now, I do own last year's palette, which was I think it was something like Fuego palette or whatever. It had like the orangey red tones, and that was the exact same way. I had the very same experience with that one. The mattes are so sandpapery to the touch. I don't think I have a drier formula than that one. And then the same thing, the shimmers are more of like a topper type of formula that you really have to work with. But I mean, I keep on saying this like 20 times every video. Fenty Pro Filter Eye Primer is a miracle worker, at least for me, because it's very tacky and it just brings those shades to life. And I had the same experience with this palette. Yes, the mattes are quite dry, but I find them to be very buildable, easy to work with, like very easy. This lilac right here is what I used in my Sephora haul follow-up. And I'm just going to tell you, yes, it took 2 or 3 times to build up, I think 3, but for a pastel, pastels hardly build up at all. If you put it on 10 times, 10 layers, it still hardly shows up. This one, 3 layers, and I had a very good amount of payoff. So, I mean, this is, I don't know what to say to kind of tell you that this is such an amazing palette. Look at this. So beautiful. Anyways, but you know, everybody's one different in their expectations of a palette. In addition to that, sometimes I really have heard that even within a batch, you know, you can get some that are great and you can get some that are not so great. I don't know how all that works. So let me give you a couple of swatches of the metallics, because I think the one people were hating the most was this lilac one. My fingers look so nasty dirty. I'm sorry. The one I think is the most intense out of all of these is the turquoise shade, which is the one I was wearing the other day. But all three of them are absolutely lovely, and they don't swatch well. I'm going to show you and you're going to be like, yeah, that's not a good palette. But once I put these on over Fenty Pro Filter Eye Primer, it looks the way it looks like in the pan. So I can see how people are disappointed, but it's one of those things that if you use the right tools, like, you know, in my case, a tacky base, it just brings them to life. And so I think it depends on how much you're willing to work with it to get it to reach that goal, to be what you want it to be. So it also depends on that. Some people expect it to be just, you know, it's going to blend itself. It's going to apply itself pretty much. And that's not the case for this one. You do got to put a little work into it. For me, it's worth the work. Alrighty, my friends. Well, thank you again for stopping by, chatting some eyeshadow palettes with me. You know, I'm sure next month will be the same story. We'll have several to go over. I love a good eyeshadow. It is just so much fun. It is nothing like being able to just sit down, pop on the TV, and just kind of, it's very therapeutic. I don't know. Something about applying eyeshadow is just so calming for me, and I do love it. And I don't know if you share that same sentiment, but I know for me that's how it is. All right, guys, before I let you go, just want to give you a very quick verse of the day. Today's comes from Deuteronomy 7:21, and it says, "The Lord your God who is among you is a great and awesome God." Yes, he is. He is so amazing, so wonderful. If you don't already know him as your Lord and Savior, now is the time. Don't wait. You never know when you're going to walk out the door of your home thinking you'll be back in an hour, and that doesn't come. And it happens to a lot of people. So you always want to be sure of where you stand with him. And life with him, I feel like the misconception is that life with him is boring. And it's anything but. I could give you story after story after story of how amazing he has been in my life. And I love sharing him with you, not to force him down your throat, because you could easily turn the video off or you could say no thank you. And that's fine. That is absolutely your decision to make. But it is my joy and my privilege and my calling to let you know that he loves you so very much and would love for you to open the door of your heart and let him have a relationship with you. It's all about relationship. It's not about religion. All right, friends. I love each and every one of you, and I thank you again for spending time with me. I will see you in the next one. So until then, please stay safe and stay well. Have a great rest of your day. See you, friends.